Damon Rhodes woke up with a jolt, his head pounding and vision spinning. The ceiling above him looked unfamiliar, steel panels dimly lit with emergency lights. He sat up slowly, trying to remember where he was or why his shoulder ached like he'd been tackled by a starship. The last thing he remembered was walking back from the cargo bay on orbital station 7. Then he heard the voice, "You're awake." Finally, he turned his head sharply. A woman stood at the edge of the room. No, not a woman, not human. Her eyes glowed deep red, like twin stars collapsing. Her skin had a faint shimmer to it, like polished onyx kissed by moonlight. And those ears tapered, slightly curved, not of this world. Damon squinted. Sorry, do I know you?" She stepped forward, her boots echoing against the metal floor. "You don't remember me? I expected that. I am Rhyla of House Varan, and you, Damon Rhodes, are my bonded mate." Damon blinked. "Come again, you're mine. Or you were be, for your mind was tampered with." He tried to laugh, but it came out nervous. "Right. So I'm just supposed to believe a glowing-eyed space vampire kidnapped me, and now claims we're married." "I didn't kidnap you," Rhyla said, voice calm but cold. "I rescued you before the bounty hunters did." He pushed himself off the bed, stumbling a little. "Okay, Rhyla, let's say I was your mate. Why don't I remember anything? Because you asked for your memories to be wiped. You were protecting something, someone." "Me." The room tilted. Damon had been in military black ops for years. He'd seen mind tech, memory extraction, things that haunted him, but this was personal. A loud thud shook the floor. Ryla's head snapped toward the hallway. "They've found us." "Who?" Damon asked, but she was already pulling a sleek blade from her thigh holster and handing him a plasma pistol. "I saved your life once. I'll do it again. But if we're getting out of here, you're going to have to trust me. Trust you." "I just met you." Ryla's eyes flashed. "Your soul hasn't." Before Damon could argue, the wall behind them exploded. Smoke poured into the room. Through the haze came armored figures, mercs with no loyalty, just credits and orders. Rhyla was a blur. Fast, graceful, brutal. Damon fired wildly, instincts kicking in. They fought back to back, her blade a dance of death, his shots fast and controlled. Something about this felt familiar. As they fled through narrow corridors, the station groaned under impact. Alarms blared. Rhyla kicked open an access panel and dragged him through. Crawling through darkness, Damon finally whispered, "What is happening?" She turned, inches from his face in the tight crawl space. "You loved me once, Damon. Enough to give up everything. Let me prove it again." Something in her eyes, ancient pain, unshakable belief, made him hesitate. He didn't know this woman, but maybe he once had, and that scared him more than the guns outside. They emerged from the shaft into the belly of a decommissioned shuttle bay. The smell of scorched circuits and hydraulic fluid thick in the air. Damon's heart pounded like war drums in his chest. He wiped blood from his temple, unsure whether it was his or someone else's. Rhyla stepped lightly beside him, checking her wrist panel. Her red eyes scanned the bay until they locked onto a half-covered spacecraft, low-profile smugglers. "Rig with stealth plating and illegal warp drives. That's ours," she said. Damon narrowed his eyes. "You sure that's not someone else's?" She smirked faintly. "You used to say the best ships were the ones no one knew you stole." He stared at her. "I said that." Rhyla didn't answer. She was already moving toward the ship, fluid and fast. Damon followed, still gripping the plasma pistol, unsure what scared him, more being hunted by mercs, or the fact that every word from her felt familiar. The ship's doors slid open with a hiss. Rhyla stepped in like she'd walked this path 1,000 times. Damon paused before entering. Inside was dimly lit, but it felt right. His boots echoed down the metallic corridor. He brushed his fingers along the side wall, Darcy Avu. He whispered. Rhyla looked back. Your memories aren't gone, just sealed. She sat at the helm, activating the controls with a blood signature, her clawed finger slicing a line across her palm. The ship responded instantly. Wait, Damon said, stepping closer. You used blood to start the ship. It's coded. To our DNA, we built it together, modified from an old Centauri scout cruiser. Nothing could trace it back to us, and yet, here we are, running again. Rhyla sighed. Zorn's hunters will never stop, not until they find the codes you hid. Codes? What codes? The Vault of Eridon, 4. You sealed it. Contained information that could collapse Zorn's entire empire. Weapon specs, genetic. Maps, location of his cloning labs. Damon stared. You're saying I was a spy? No, she said softly. You were something more. You were hope. He sat down in the co-pilot's seat, still gripping the pistol, staring at his reflection in the dark console screen. I don't feel like hope. You didn't feel like love either, at first. He looked over at her. Tell me something real, not spy stuff. Not blood wars or bounty hunters. Something human. Rhyla paused. Then she smiled. It wasn't predatory or perfect. It was tired, crooked real. You once made me coffee in a tin canister. We were stranded on Zeros for after a mission. You boiled water over a pulse heater and brewed the worst drink in the galaxy. It tasted like burnt sand and smoke. But you grinned and said, "That's love, baby." Bitter, hot, and stubborn enough to wake the dead. Damon blinked, and to his own surprise, he chuckled. Ryla's gaze softened. You may not remember it, Damon, but your soul still laughs the same. Before he could speak, the ship's scanners beeped. Ryla's smile vanished. 3 interceptors, moving fast. Damon jumped to his feet. How long before they reach us? 2 minutes, lest he grabbed the control stick. I can fly. She looked at him. You sure? I don't know. But my hands remember more than I do. The engines roared to life as the ship lifted off, breaking through the failing station shield. Space swallowed them whole. Damon's fingers danced over the controls like a man possessed. Rhyla checked coordinates and punched in evasive patterns, but it was Damon who spun the ship in a perfect corkscrew maneuver, dodging enemy fire with barely an inch to spare. She looked at him, breath-catching. You do remember. Damon's knuckles were white on the yoke. Not with my mind, but something inside me does. They punched into light speed seconds before the interceptors could lock on. Space bent around them. Silence returned. Leaned back. You just did a burn maneuver you invented 5 years ago. I did, she nodded. Damon swallowed hard. So, if this vault has what you say it does, then I really might be the key to ending all of this. You are always the key, Rhyla whispered. You just forgot how to unlock yourself. Damon looked out at the stars streaking past. A warlord wanted him. A vampire woman loved him. And deep inside, something was waking up piece by piece. He wasn't ready, but he was coming back. The stars outside blurred into a tunnel of light as the ship cruised in FTL. Damon sat alone in the sleeping bay, elbows resting on his knees, eyes locked on the floor like it might explain the universe. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed, his eyes, fragments of something, tried to claw their way out of the dark. Images, voices, feelings, a planet of ice. Rhyla's hand in his A-ring, screams in a language he didn't understand but somehow felt. Rhyla entered quietly, holding a sealed pouch. Here he looked up. What is it? Memory serum. Experimental tech from a scientist we helped once. It's designed to reconnect fragmented neurons, at least temporarily, you mean. It could bring some of my memories back. For a short time, she said carefully. But it'll hurt. You might only get flashes, and you won't like everything you see. Damon stared at the pouch in her hand. Give it to me, Rhyla hesitated. You don't have to. I need to, he said firmly. She handed him the vial. He pulled the cap off, the liquid inside glowing faint green. It smelled like iron and ozone. Damon tipped it back and drank. The effect was immediate. Pain exploded in his skull. He dropped to his knees, clutching his head as his vision shattered into 1,000 images. Faces blurred by speed. A battlefield. A woman screaming. Rhyla standing. In a doorway with blood on her hands. A vault door marked with a symbol he didn't recognize. And finally his own face, staring at a reflection, whispering, "If I forget, I survive." Then everything went black. When he awoke, he was on the floor, Rhyla's hand gripping his tightly. Her expression was fierce but afraid. "What did you see?" she asked softly. He sat up slowly. "A war," one eye started. Rhyla nodded. "You were one of the first to resist Zorn's rise. You exposed the experiments on human colonies. You leaked their names. They tried to assassinate you twice. And I erased myself. To protect what you knew," she said. "But also to protect me." Damon's voice was quiet. "They were after you too. I was their weapon," she said. "Bred from 3 species. Designed to infiltrate and seduce leaders. But I escaped. You were the first person who saw me as more than what I was made to be." Damon exhaled, his heart heavier now. "I loved you," she nodded once, "and you still do, even if your mind doesn't remember. Your instincts haven't forgotten." He looked at her, something aching deep inside. "Rhyla, I need to go to the vault." She froze. "It's guarded, heavily, and if Zorn finds out, he already knows," Damon said. "We have to get there before he does." Rhyla studied his face for a moment, then nodded. "I'll set the course." As she walked away, Damon leaned back and closed his eyes. There were still so many holes in his mind, so many truths waiting in the dark. But now he knew who he was. Not just a man with a missing past, not just a soldier or a rebel. He was the spark that had once lit a galaxy on fire, and maybe it was time to burn again. The planet was called Calderon Ixer, frozen rock at the edge of the trinary drift. No cities, no signals, no life, except for what was buried underneath. Damon stared out the viewport as the ship descended through blizzard winds. Jagged cliffs surrounded the landing site like broken teeth. The terrain looked like a war between fire and ice had been. Fort Harand both had lost. Rhyla powered down the engines. "We're here." He strapped on a thermal vest from the storage compartment, then looked at her. "You sure this is the right place?" She tapped her wrist pad, bringing up a 3D map. The vault entrance is beneath the glacier, hidden under a crash site. It only opens to your biosignature. And if I die out there, she smiled faintly, then I guess I'll have to dig up your corpse and try your fingerprints. Charming, he muttered, grabbing his blaster. They stepped out into the storm. The wind was sharp, biting through his jacket with icy teeth. Snow crunched beneath their boots as they moved toward a twisted wreck half buried in ice. The ship must have crashed decades ago, now little more than rust and bones. Rhyla crouched beside a wall of fractured steel. Here, Damon approached, brushing away the snow. Beneath the frost, a panel blinked faintly frozen, but still alive. He reached out and touched it. The ice cracked with a deep groan, the ground trembled. Massive gears shifted beneath their feet as the snow slid away, revealing a circular platform with glowing runes. The vault door, it scanned him, then hissed open. Cold air poured out, but it wasn't just temperature. It felt heavy like memory had a weight. Damon swallowed hard and stepped inside. The vault was dark and vast, like walking into the belly of a god. Lights flickered on as they passed, revealing rows of consoles, sealed crates, and databanks humming with knowledge. "This is insane," Damon whispered. "You built it," Rhyla said, her voice strangely quiet. "To protect everything Zorn wanted to destroy. Genetic data, resistance communications, blackmail files." He walked up to a pedestal in the center. A small sphere hovered there, glowing dimly. "What is this?" "Your key," she said. "It holds the master codes to unlock every archive in the galaxy." Damon reached for it, and then the door slammed shut. An alarm blared through the vault, high-pitched and sharp. Rhyla spun, blaster drawn. "They followed us," she hissed. Damon grabbed the key and ducked behind the console. "How?" "Zorn has deep trackers, hidden in old implants, clothing fibers. He's been tracing your signature since the day I found you." The vault trembled. A crash echoed above as a blast charge took out part of the entry. Then came the sound of metal boots, .mercs. Dozens of them. Our HYLA took position behind a barricade. "Damon, you need to run. There's a secondary tunnel leads out through the ice. Take the key and go." He shook his head. "Not without you. You have to," she shouted. "The files can bring down Zorn. Without them, thousands more. We'll die, then we fight together." Before she could protest, the first wave of mercs stormed in. Damon opened fire. Rhyla moved like a shadow leaping, dodging, striking with precision, but there were too many. A plasma bolt hit Rhyla in the side. She fell with a grunt. "Rhyla," Damon screamed. He ran to her, dragging her behind a console. Her side was scorched, but she was breathing. "Forget me," she whispered. "Save the galaxy." Damon looked into her eyes and remembered flashes of her smile, her laugh, her fierce loyalty. He touched her cheek. "I already lost you once," he said. "I'm not doing it again." He reached into his jacket and pulled out the key. Then he stood. "You want me?" he shouted to the mercs. "Come and get me." He slammed the key into the pedestal. A pulse of energy exploded from the core, knocking everyone back. Holograms burst to life, thousands of files, faces, names, coordinates. Every secret Zorn had buried now lit the vault like 1,000 suns. Damon turned to Rhyla now. "We run." Snow whipped across the cratered surface of Caldron X as the vault trembled behind them. Damon dragged Rhyla through the side tunnel, her body heavy against his shoulder, her breathing shallow but steady. The storm roared louder than before, howling through the cavern like it was trying to warn the stars. They emerged into a narrow gorge lit only by flashes of red from the explosion they'd left behind. Somewhere in the sky above, a black ship circled the flagship of Zorn's forces. Damon knew it wouldn't be long before they sent more down. He tapped his wrist calm, voice hoarse. "Mira, come in." A crackle, then a voice replied. "Mira, here. I've got eyes on you." "What the hell did you just trigger down there?" "Every file Zorn ever tried to hide," Damon said. "Broadcast it now. You sure?" He looked down at Rhyla. "Do it." Above them, the clouds split with the hum of an orbital array coming online. Mira's signal pulsed across the system, and then like stars igniting screens across the galaxy lit up. From mining colonies to inner world capitals, from outlaw ports to resistance cells, they saw the truth, Zorn's experiments, the memory wipes, the secret prisons, the stolen children, everything. 1,000 voices started shouting in outrage. 1,000 hands clenched into fists. Whole fleets, once fractured, began aligning into something dangerous unified will. Damon looked up at the flagship above them. Time to go. A smaller ship descended Myra's stealth runner. The ramp opened before it even touched the ice. Damon half carried Rhyla up the steps as blaster fire peppered the rocks behind them. Inside, Mira, a wiry mechanic with quick hands and a quicker temper, stared at him with disbelief. "You look like hell." "Feel worse," Damon muttered, laying Rhyla gently onto the medbed. "Get us out of here." The ship lifted as explosions rocked the glacier behind them. Damon collapsed into the co-pilot's seat, barely able to breathe. Myra glanced at him. "You really did it, didn't you? The entire galaxy's watching. Zorn's empire just cracked down the middle." "Not enough," he said. "He'll still fight." Mira grinned. "So will we." Damon looked back at Rhyla. She stirred, her voice barely a whisper. "You remembered, didn't you?" He reached for her hand, gripping it gently. "Pieces. Enough." She smiled weakly. "Told you. Your soul never forgot." Outside, the stars stretched wide, full of new dangers, new battles, and unfinished wars. But, for the first time, Damon felt like he belonged to something again. Not just to a cause. To her. He leaned back, the weight of the past no longer pressing him down, but lifting him forward. "We're not done," he said softly. "No," Rhyla whispered. "We're just beginning." And as their ship soared into the black, the galaxy remembered the name Damon Rhodes, the man who erased himself to save the truth, and found it again through love.